Hi, welcome to Hamilton and Hazen, Behind the Mic. Join author M.L. Hamilton and me, I'm narrator Kelly Hazen, as we discuss our latest audiobook. Born from more than a decade of award-winning collaboration and almost 100 audiobooks we've produced together, listen to the ins, the outs, the ups, and the downs, the inside track you love to follow, Behind the Mic.
Welcome to Behind the Mic number 25. Hi, Kelly.
Howdy.
How are you?
You know, I've had way too much coffee, which is and I've got some kind of like Gidget hairdo going on here. But other than that, all is well. I think it's important to tell the listeners that we're in the middle of a heat wave here in Southern California. I don't know how it is where you are, but we're in the middle of extreme heat warning for the second day, and it's supposed to persist until tomorrow. It was 117 degrees where Bruce was in Valencia, and 105 where I was in almost Sierra Madre, Altadena, northern Pasadena. So it's crazy hot.
117 is unreal. It's about 100. Well, right now it's at least 90. I had to turn the air conditioner on early this morning, but it's I think we're supposed to be up to 103, which is not abnormal for us this time of year, but
Oh, wow.
117 is just
The crazy part is that I was texting with a friend in the Midwest in Missouri, in my home state, and she was telling me how hot and humid it was there, which is normal, right, for the breadbasket. But it was 68 degrees at 10 o'clock here in Los Angeles that day last week that we were talking, and now it's like so hot, it's crazy. And when we were walking the dog, it's like everybody's trying to get everything done early before the heat really sets in. So there were a million dogs and they were all barking and they're trimming the trees, and there's, like the Tai Chi group is having to move because they're cutting branches right next to them. That was a real sort of, oh my God, they're cutting trees and here are these 10 people trying to do Tai Chi in the park. Yeah, it was insane. It's been an insane morning.
yeah, that we went for a walk very early this morning too, because it just you can't.
You always do though, don't you? Don't you go pretty early?
We try and get out way before any other dogs are out because I don't like the barking and I don't like all the um silliness that goes along with other dogs in the vicinity.
You can't count on the owners, except you know what I've learned is that actually most of the time you can. People that have their dogs, I'm actually talking dogs off the leash. If people have their dogs off the leash, I would say 90% of the time it's because they have trained their dog and they know they can trust them. But it is the other 10% that you have to worry about.
Yeah.
No, and let me tell, there were two things, and I can't remember one of them that I thought we should talk about. And so I said, let's roll on this. Normally we have a little prep behind the mic, but there's two things. One of them is the microphone.
Yes.
And I think we've done behind the mic with this microphone before. It's a JZ mic, and it's a great microphone. It's really wonderful. You get a lot of nice warmth from it. I've been having issues with it because it's really interesting about microphones. They pick up different things, right? We normally use the one that you've seen in the earlier behind the mics, and right up until maybe one or two ago, we call that mic Big Fatty, and it's a vintage mic. It's a vintage mic, and it runs with tubes, like the old microphones. The old televisions used to have tubes in them, and you have to actually let that microphone warm up so the tubes can warm up. But I noticed that it always did it when it was dry or when the Santa Ana winds blew, but it would fuzz out sometimes. Like I'd be narrating and all of a sudden it'd go. And it's because it's vintage, it's fairly expensive to have it serviced. And so this last time it was doing it, we just decided to trade out mics for a while and see what happened. Although Big Fatty will always have my heart. So this is the JZ, but it's got real pop problems that I never had with. I mean, I have to pull back, and there's software that you can run your audio file through. You can just take it and run it through the app. It's an app, right? And it'll take all the P's out, all the pops and stuff like that. But and a lot, I am telling you, I would say 90% of narrators use it. But the problem is that it also takes out a lot of other really natural sounds. It kind of deadens the file. It pulls it down to here instead of all the expression that you get at the top and the bottom. And I would imagine for nonfiction, that's not such a big deal. But when it's fiction and when you narrate the way I do in the way that you like, which is creating the characters in a less than subtle fashion, you really lose a lot. So I am trying to make the adjustment. And we have the old, the classic is pantyhose wrapped around a pop filter, which is what this is. But even with this mic, because this mic is so good, I'm still having pop issues. And so I'm trying to learn to change my, it's a subtle difference. It changed my articulation so I don't hit them so hard. So basically change the way I speak so that the microphone likes me better. So that's that. What was the other thing? We were starting to talk about something and I said, let's roll.
Some woman that was in the theater.
Oh, Roberta Peters. So if everyone, please look at author M.L. Hamilton and how lovely she looks today. And I commented how lovely her lipstick is. And Roberta Peters, so I had just finished graduate school at the Oslo Conservatory. I had my MFA, I had my equity card, actor's equity card. I was that professional. And in Sarasota, Florida, and the Golden Apple Dinner Theater was in Tampa, St. Pete, which was like a 90-minute drive up the freeway north. And they were doing Hello Dolly, and a girl was leaving the chorus to go, I think, do some other show, probably a better role in another show. Roberta Peters and her husband ran the dinner theater. And of course, they always did shows that basically Roberta could star in. So of course, she was playing Dolly because at the time, she was 300 years old and she lived another 300 years after that. But she smoked all the time, right? She smoked all the time. And she was wonderful, wonderful actress. Really interesting woman, had an incredible career. If you Google her, you'll see. But she said, darling, two things always remember as you get older. You'll never look older if you have eyebrows and lipstick. And I've never forgotten that. And it's true. It's true. So that made me think of that story. Okay, let's do Behind the Mic.
All right. So today we're talking about a couple of things. We're going to talk about our latest book that's coming out on the 25th, which is Monday. Yes.
Yes. 4 days.
Huh?
4 days.
4 days. Yes. And then our trip to New Orleans, that's coming up very quickly on the 2nd of September. And then a projection into the future of where we're going with the rest of the year, because we are more than halfway through 2025 already. So,
and how many audiobooks have we released this year already? 3, did you say?
Yeah, we've already done 3, so we're on track for, and I think we're planning at least one more in the World of Samar series before the end of the year.
And the box set.
In the box set, yes.
Is Fallen Veil number 4 or number 3?
3.
Number 3, okay.
Yeah.
So at least 5 audiobooks.
Yes. So
no, way more, right? Because there are others, but we're going to talk about that later.
we've done Cross-Burning Case so far, and then Followers of Eldon, and now the Fallen Veil should be out any day now. The 25th is what we're hoping for. So that's
well, yeah, or as they do in the WNBA.
Yeah.
Paige Becker scored 44 points 2 days ago. The Los Angeles Sparks are doing really well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So let's talk a little bit about Fallen Veil. That's our latest in the Peyton Brooks early cases. And there will be one more book in that series, and then we will.
I have a ton of questions for you.
Okay.
And they kind of involve Okay, so let's start with Fallen Veil. My feeling about Fallen Veil is I sensed a different tone because I remember when we started on the early cases, a lot of what you were trying to do was meet the requests of readers they really wanted like just the facts, ma'am kind of dragnet approach to it. And that was how, also, didn't you start the early cases because Amazon was doing a competition or some kind of for shorter, right, shorter content.
Yeah, they were doing the Kindle, which was a phenomenal failure, but they were doing that Kindle where people could buy in episodes. And so the original first two of that series were part of the Kindle Vella. And people could buy each episode or each section of the book for tokens or whatever. And then they discontinued it this year, and so it's not available anymore. But with the three at the time, I had eventually gone and published them as novellas.
And they were 3 books or the first 3 chapters of the first one?
They were full books. Eventually you would publish so they wanted them every week, and you would publish a section. So I would do sections within a chapter until the whole book was published. And then I decided to go ahead and just pull it because it really never really took off at all. And I pulled it and I put the books together as a novella, and send them out in Kindle Unlimited and paperback form. And
And they were doing that to try to garner a younger audience, do you recall?
they thought that would get a younger audience interested. Sorry, hold on a minute. They thought that would get a younger audience interested and get them into reading longer books, but it just never took off. It was very expensive for people to buy the tokens and everything, and it took so many tokens to read a section, and then they were giving like 5 of the sections for free, and it just wasn't a good
I applaud them for trying to do something new, but at the end of the day, it always does seem to be revenue based. And
yeah.
I think so whatever initial, goodwill they try to get you to swallow, at the end of it, it's always about and aggressively creating revenue for the Amazon empire. And I don't know, it just seems like in the universe that never turns out really well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that the idea of it kind of harkens back to the Charles Dickens, where he had his books published in a series. So they did serials with them. But yeah, it just
You know who was really successful at that? And I was excited. I remember when we started this because I was really excited about it because Stephen King,
yes.
who you know how I feel about Stephen King. I love Stephen King. The Green Mile, he did it that way. He did it. He published in it was he in with intention created a serial, and he did it by the month, and I think there were 8 of them total or something like that. And you got this thin little paperback. It was wonderful, and I couldn't wait for the next month. And literally you would like go down to the drugstore, I mean, to have, because you didn't want to wait for it to be delivered. And I think this was before Amazon, right? You weren't getting things like that. I mean, maybe there was delivery to your door, but it wasn't as commonplace as it is now. But it was very exciting to wait for that, to get it. And you would just, oh my God, you would sit down. I mean, this sounds a little 1950s, but like sit on the curb
Yeah.
after you went in the store and paid the quarter. Okay, it was more than that. But to just immediately read it and find out what was going. And that was a really good story. I think one of his best, The Green Mile. So anyway, yeah, I was excited for this. I thought it could have done well, but then, especially I just think it's really tough when too much money is asked for something that's virtual.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, I don't know that this new audience, especially a younger audience, they're so used to being able to stream things as a whole series and so waiting for something to come out. I don't know that I think that kind of misses who that young audience is.
We're watching Foundation right now, science fiction fantasy Foundation on Apple TV. Oh my God, what a great series. Probably largely because it's based on the books by Isaac Asimov, one of the kings of science fiction. But we watched, and it's 3 seasons, right? And there's a big gap between the first 2 seasons and the third season. We went back and watched the whole first season and second season, and then started the third season, and still wound up looking at all of it. And we had to wait 2 days for the next episode that released last night. And oh my God, we were beside ourselves. We don't like to wait for anything.
No, yeah, we're finished the first season and then we started the second, and we're having a hard time with the second season, having a hard time getting into the second season, but we've heard that the third season is phenomenal. So
Oh, that's interesting. I loved the first and second season and the third season. For me, whoever I would bet, and I haven't gone back to look, but I would bet who's ever doing the screenwriting and the adaptation from the book, there is a little more dependence in the third season on just saying, like, the narration and the voiceover. In the
oh
in the first 2 seasons, it was almost like they spared no money
yeah,
and told a beautiful, I mean, that story was told beautifully and in images, right? It's supposed to be, it's television. This one is like, oh, by the way, this, or oh, by the way, this is the name of that thing. And it's like, what? And also they've introduced some new characters that they're clearly trying to make it timely. They're trying to fit it into which is weird, right? Because it's science fiction. It's supposed to be the future anyway. And so they're trying, and it bothers me a little bit, but at the same time, the first 2 seasons were so strong. And the main characters are so strong. They're such wonderful actors. I'm not real keen on the new actors, the younger actors that they've hired. But I'm liking them better as it goes on. Okay. Enough about Kelly's review. Too much coffee, what can I say? Oh, okay, so I think Fallen Veil has it's almost like you can't help yourself. It's a return to the fun. The fun is more present, the relationships are more present. We're learning a lot. I mean, if you're a dyed in the wool Peyton Brooks fan, you are learning where aspects of her story that you just took for granted because they've always been in place, from Murder in the Painted Ladies,
yeah,
the Murder in the Painted Lady, or Murder on Potrero Hill, right, which was technically the first one.
yeah.
They've always been in place since that book, and now you're getting the origin story, and it's really like, oh my God, that's how that happened. I mean, I'm doing that, right? And I'm going, oh no, this is, we're gonna find out how this happened. And just the level of humor is really not, and always you have a great sense of humor. But so speak to that. Do you feel like you loosened up on this one? Was it intentional? Was it
I
force of habit? What was it?
No, I felt like it was necessary. So moving in from this one, ending this series and moving in where people would eventually go into the Peyton Brooks mysteries, I felt like you needed to have more of that, those backstories filled in and brought forward a little bit more. Just
And what about the sense of humor and the lightness?
it's just I think it was part of that. I mean, it's their relationship, as you see it evolve, becomes more about the humor and the connection and the so it just seemed like in order to come up to where the mysteries were, I needed to make a gradual arc to get there. So it's not such to me, I think what would be a disservice is if it was just suddenly a very obvious, you know,
Shift in tone?
yes, exactly. And so I deliberately wanted to kind of start bringing it more towards where the mysteries were. and bringing that to the foreground a little bit more, because it is so much that those stories are so much about her and those people that orbit her, and um it would be a really dramatic shift to keep it with that same, just the facts tone, for people to transition into the mysteries. So we need more of that.
There was a so not to completely shift to BoucherCon, but Bruce wanted to see we're going to BoucherCon. And Bruce wanted to see, I told him about the postcards we're working on to have available for people to learn about our work, because we've donated to the silent auction at BoucherCon 7 free audiobooks in the Cozy Christmas collection, 7 of our audiobooks that feature the holidays.
Yes.
And so in doing these postcards, I found this quote from the audiobookreviewer.com that I think really speaks to what you're talking about. And it's a quote that we used, it's on our postcards. And this is about your writing. Gripping, heart-pounding adventure that checks every box for a truly memorable read. From the very first chapter, you're pulled into a richly imagined world filled with danger, mystery, and high stakes. The pacing is electric, the action intense, and yet it never loses sight of the characters at its core. And so I think that quote, that review, speaks directly to what, this choice that you've made, to make it seamless, the transition seamless from the early cases into, because that would be the next step, right? If you were new to Peyton Brooks, you'd be listening to the early cases, and then you'd move into the Peyton Brooks mysteries.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so now this is the other thing that that I find interesting. So as you mentioned at the beginning of this, we have one more
Yes.
early case that's behind the trigger,
Right.
correct? And theoretically that will be out summer, fall 2026, correct? Okay. And then we are going to work soon on the last Zion Sawyer.
Very much so. Yes.
Right. Which will end, that will be a series finale, right? And a character finale.
Uh, it'll be it'll be a series finale. I think the Zion and Tate will become peripheral characters in a different series.
Ah,
As I don't want to leave Sequoia. I think there's still more stories to be told in Sequoia. So we will have a shift where they become peripheral characters in a different series.
okay. And where are we with the Christmas mysteries? How many more of those?
Oh goodness. There's quite a few more of those. I think there's 3.
Oh, okay. What I was driving at with those questions that kind of blew up in my face, but it seemed like we're at the end. We're gonna complete Samar, and or at least the recording of Samar. That series of books ended a long time ago. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong. You're in quite a period of transition as a human being. Is
Yes,
that true?
yes.
True or false?
True.
Okay, so my point, it seemed like we were having a lot of things coming to an end, a
We
lot of new with potential new beginnings, right? And I just wondered as a writer, how are you feeling right now? How are you feeling? I mean, this is your first, you just got out of prison. You just got out of educational prison. How does it feel?
well, since I stopped teaching in May, it's kind of been a whirlwind. The summer has been very, very busy, and we just continue to be very busy, which is good. I'm happier when I'm busy. I need to stay busy, but um it kind of hit home this month when all of my colleagues went back to work, and like last night I guess was back to school night, and I would have been there and I didn't have to, and so it's very freeing. It's lovely actually not to have the day job and just be able to focus on this and spend some time doing some more creative stuff. I spent the morning because I didn't want to get into writing this morning because I knew we were going to do this. But I just did some graphic design stuff to kind of promote the books and everything. And so that's been fun, having that time to not just try and cram it in on a weekend, but just to take my time this morning and kind of leisurely imagine what I wanted to do with some stuff was wonderful. And I love that. So it's freed up for me a lot of that creativity to be able to not just quickly throw something together. Like we took our time with the postcards. We went back and forth between the two of us. And usually, I'd be like, we need to get this nailed down and go, and I felt a lot less.
You should put the postcards up on the at the end of this. So now that we've talked about them, if that's not a big deal, you should do it at the tail end when you run the cover.
I will do. Um, but so that was nice. And I'm excited for our trip. That's it's coming rapidly here. And I'm interested. I'm hoping that we're not going to be just the humidity isn't going to be horrible, but we'll deal with it.
I'm sure the Marriott has a swimming pool.
Yeah, I know. I need to remember to bring my swimming suit.
Yeah.
But so those things are nice that I can kind of focus on being a full-time author as the focus and not worry about, you
Do
know.
you have new characters in mind? New series? Do you have a whole new direction you want to go in, or are we, I mean, how does this fresh feeling, this freedom, how is it translating into your writing?
So eventually I'd like to try some brand new series with brand new characters that we've never done before. But a lot of times, in order to bring our readers kind of with us to the next one, they need to have some buy-in. I mean, our readers, our listeners are so important to us. And we're very, I think both of us are very aware of what they like and where they're at. And I just got an email today from a reader who wanted to know when the next Ion is coming out. And I think in order to bring, I get excited about writing something new or taking a new look at something, but also to bring our readers along and make it feel like it's still the same us. I think using some of our characters that were in the periphery and bringing them forward into the foreground is kind of a way to get our readers to come or our listeners to come with us and try something new. Um,
I remember when you toyed with well, you didn't toy. I think you were seriously considering ending Peyton, like bringing Peyton to a close. And there was such an outcry from readers and listeners that you decided to keep going with it, correct?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we definitely pay attention to where the fans would like to have things go.
Well, and
Partic
what's
you
interesting is I've gotten a couple of emails lately that people tell me they go back and they can't find anything else to listen to. So while they're waiting for our next work, they go back and they re-listen to our stuff again. And to me, that is the greatest compliment. Like I like I said, I love that we have such loyal listeners that come back to us. And it's kind of sad that there's not anything that kind of hits the way um for some of our listeners, that they can't find other things out there that hits the same way that ours does. But again, I'm delighted to hear when somebody says, I've gone back and I've listened to the one today. She and her sister's here in Fresno and she's in Florida. She said, we've gone through the whole Peyton Brooks series 3 times, and then we started on Zion Sawyer, and now we're on our second time of Zion Sawyer, and we're waiting for that last one. That is just amazing, isn't it? I mean, to think of people choosing to go back and listen to something 2 or 3 times, that's a compliment that I never dreamed. We
Well, yeah, no, totally, totally, absolutely. And a friend of mine, it was really interesting because she does that with movies, right? And I mean, and people do that, right? I have favorite movies, and every now and then it's like, oh, I really need to see broadcast news again, or something like that. And there's actually been research done on why people do that, and it's because it's to a certain, it's comforting.
Yes.
It's a great, they experience comfort. They know the characters, they love the characters, they know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
particularly in this age of you never know what the next, whether it's the weather or fires out here or, whatever, you never know what the next thing's going to be. It's comforting to know what's going to happen in some respects.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's rather clever if we wait a long time to release next in series. People are like, "What happened? I
Yeah.
have to go back and listen." And then you listen. Is it true still? Because I know you used to do this. Do you listen to the audiobook of the previous?
Well, yes. So to prepare for this Zion, I went back and I listened to Mint Mocha Chip, and then I'm currently finishing up chai tea. And all it does is it not only does it remind me of what happened, and then I can go back and make sure I filled in all my notes, that I didn't miss something, but it also puts me back in that environment, with Zion, Peyton deals with such serious crimes that it's, intense. There's an intensity to Peyton. Even among the humor, there's an intensity to Peyton, and the things that they deal with in their lives, their personal lives, are very intense. With Zion, I forget how just fun and crazy. I was just listening to um they in chai tea, um there Jaguar goes to work in the coffee shop because he's so upset about Zion going viral and that he's not getting the fame that he deserves. And I was listening to it again, and just that silliness of anything to do with Jaguar is so fun and so silly. But it reminds me of how the cadence of those books go, how the humor weaves through all of it. It's just never not part of it.
You know what I love about Jaguar, speaking of never loses sight of the characters at its core, is when you think about where he started in the standalone
Yeah.
and everything that he went through to become a part of Sequoia and just the journey for
Yeah.
his, I mean, the honest to God journey of his character. And now he's, this, he's so overly sensitive and he's so funny. I mean, he's very often the root of a lot of the crazy and silly that happens in
I don't
Sequoia.
remember in this book, I don't know if you remember this, but Dee decides he wants to find a mama bear, and he wants Tate to find him a woman to bear his progeny, and Tate refuses to do this. So Jaguar steps
Jaguar takes responsibility, yeah, of course.
in.
And he's even sort of affronted that that Dee asked Tate to begin with.
Exactly. And then there's also the side story of them finding the spirit wolf. And Jaguar decides that they're gonna go out on safari, and they're gonna go find the spirit wolf, and they come out just full on dressed in safari gear, and they're gonna go out into the forest, and Jaguar winds up getting a blister, and he and Zion and Dee have to carry him back to civilization. And those I forgot about. So it allows me to remember those just absolutely ridiculous moments with him. And he's so fun. And any scene with him is just better because he's just so silly.
The
But
evolution of your work is really quite dramatic to me, and it's hitting home the evolution within a series. I'm reading Apostles of Eldon right now, which is book 9
yeah,
of the 11 book series, and it's a big jump in time,
yes,
and yet it's still just it's a big jump in time. It's not exactly a whole new set of characters, but it's a whole new set of characters. And 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 yet the way you connect the threads with stuff we already know and and that's familiar to us to keep us in the world, but at the same time tell a brand new story. And these are intense, intricate stories. These aren't novellas. These are big time. And it's just it's really wonderful. It's really I understand why you have the fan base that you have, because you're so committed to telling a great story. And at the end of the day, that's, you know, that's the job, you
Right.
know. And it was funny, I just had new business cards made for BoucherCon, and which is this convention that we're going to, and I had a set made, and then I actually went, wait a minute, and I decided to remake them, have a second set, because when I work as a consultant, I have, you know, basic business card and my stuff on the front, and you turn it over and it says, I can help. Just simple statement, I can help. And I did that again. And then I went, no, 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 wait a minute. And I sent them back in and I changed the back of it, and it just says, let me tell your story.
Oh,
Because,
love.
you know,
Yeah.
that's what I do. And that, I don't know why I didn't do it before. That's been my motto for my company from the beginning 9 years ago. But yeah, but it's, I mean, I tell your story, but if the story isn't good to begin with, and your stories are just so great. So let's talk about BoucherCon.
So we
You got me into this.
VoucherCon is a mystery convention that happens annually, and it's in a different city every year. We had it in Sacramento during the pandemic, so it had to go virtual during the pandemic. But this year it's in New Orleans, and I was particularly interested in going to it because I want to set a Peyton mystery eventually somewhere in the future in New Orleans. And I feel like I can't, to me, I need to physically be present in the cities in which I have Peyton go to. And so this was a perfect opportunity to go and do this and attend. And as I was telling you about it, you became interested, and we decided to make this a joint trip for the two of us. And so we will be New Orleans from Tuesday through Sunday, although 2 days are flight days.
Right.
But
Early September.
early September. And I'm on a panel discussion on Wednesday about
So,
Coast Mysteries.
so tell us, what is BoucherCon?
Well, like I said, it's a big mystery convention that happens annually. I can't remember. Do you remember which one this one is? It's annual, and so like the next one for 2026 is in Calgary, and it just goes all over the country.
And it's for writers, aspiring writers, readers, listeners, fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's kind of like the Comic-Con of mystery writing, kind of, I think. And I've never been. I was part of the one here, but I basically did the newsletter. And like I said, we didn't get to hold it in person.
You've always been teaching, right?
Yes. Yes. And so
Freedom, freedom.
yeah, our plan, and so then so I'm gonna do a panel discussion on Wednesday, and then
What's the topic?
it's something about mystery writing and what the no, about cozy mysteries and what the cozy mystery, because in a cozy mystery, usually it's not a police officer who's doing the solving, it's a layperson. Think of Murder She Wrote, that kind of thing. And so
So
it's about,
an an amateur sleuth?
exactly. And so what is your amateur sleuth's day job or whatever it is? It's something to that effect. And there's been all this communication back and forth about what questions do we want to be asked, and
Oh.
I haven't responded to those because I'm like, I don't kind of like when I'm picking the questions that you're going to ask me, it just seems kind of, um, canned. I don't know. It just seems like it's a little too premeditated for me. I kind of let them kind of duke that out. But you're going to be participate. You're going to be participating in the auction. You have a item that we will be, the two of us will put together to auction off our audiobooks. You came up with the whole idea, and maybe
Oh.
talk about why you came up with that idea. And then also you got this adorable
I can't believe I didn't bring it down here. It's upstairs. Maybe I'll send you. You can run a picture of it at the end too.
The ornament
Yeah.
with our books and our names on it. But anyway, talk about how you came up with this idea for the because they're asking for auction items to benefit a library, I believe, in
Mhm.
New Orleans. And
I think it's Jackson County Parish. And I could have that wrong, but I think New Orleans is in Jackson County or the county that it's in, and that or the parish, right? Because they do it differently. They section off differently. And yeah, and it's to benefit the library. Um so so this was interesting because I was just feeling my oats, I guess is one way of saying it. And I just got back from New York. I read about a John Singer Sargent. You know me, this is going to be a long story. John Singer Sargent, they did a retrospective of his art at the Met in Manhattan. And he's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, painters. And Madam X was the finale piece. And you could run a picture of that at the end of um, and it was just like, I really want to see this art exhibit. And I just kind of went, you know what? I'm gonna I'm gonna fly to New York and see this art exhibit. And I lived in Manhattan on two different occasions for several years. And it was a time in my life where I didn't, I was trying to get acting jobs, and going to museums and going to art galleries wasn't something I was doing. And so I'd never set foot in the Met before. And then I remembered that the woman that I lived with, we were roommates in Manhattan, uh, still lives out there. She lives in New Jersey. And so I contacted her, and she and I actually had an incredible, we hadn't, we Zoomed and talked, but we hadn't been in the same, the same proximity for a long time. In fact, the last time I physically saw her, wait for it, we were in New Orleans. And so yeah, isn't this interesting? So anyway, so that was really cool. And at the same time that I was deciding to do that, you were talking about going to BoucherCon, and you were talking about, that you were excited to go to the convention, but that mainly it was to research a book for Peyton. And a number of years ago, in fact, wait for it, 2020, we were going to go to Las Vegas together because you were going to research Las Vegas for Pirates in Las Vegas, right? Yeah. So, and we didn't get to go because of the pandemic. And so it was like, so I started thinking about it, and I started thinking about it, and it was like, I'm gonna go. Worst case scenario, you get tied up at the convention and I just go knocking around New Orleans by myself. And which is not the worst place to be, if you're knocking around by yourself. And and then I applied registered for the convention, and they very politely, asked if you were an industry professional, and I like to think I am. I don't know how professional I am. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, and then it was like, how can I be involved even though I'm not, how can I be involved even though I am not aspiring to be a mystery writer, which is primarily the direction they're going in. And they do seem to largely focus on new authors, right? So, and I got my new mystery author. Anyway, so, no, that's silly. Anyway, so the silent auction was part of it. They also put together an anthology every year that they sell that's new. It's huge, and it's like 40 uh short stories or novellas, mystery short stories or novellas. And I wanted to be a part of it and support the convention, so I bought an anthology. And then they said, okay, here's this silent auction. And it was like, oh, and also, and not to sound completely benevolent because I'm not, it was an opportunity to just get, I mean, any of this is an opportunity for us to get our work out there and also get out there what I believe, and I think you do too, is a very unique relationship between author and narrator. And it definitely, in a marketplace full of fans, I believe it will sort of single you out slash us out by the nature of our relationship as well as your work, right? It's just a way to sort of stand above the crowd. And so also with the silent auction, so it was this thing, a cozy, because one of the things, and let me give a plug here to BoucherCon and this incredible woman, Janice Jones, who's running the silent auction for BoucherCon. She has just been incredible in terms of guiding us to position ourselves, and clearly, it benefits them, because if we position what we have available correctly, it will only make it that much more attractive to potential bidders. But she really knows her stuff, and I just want to say publicly, BoucherCon's lucky to have her, and she's just really wonderful, wonderful, and organized and smart cookie. um in the request for auction items, they're saying, just putting your book out there isn't going to go very far. And so it got me to thinking, just putting our audiobooks out there are not going to go very far, and probably less far than a book, right? Because
Yeah.
they don't exist in the real world. It's not like when they used to be on CDs. So she said things like, accompany it with a theme or blah, blah, blah. And so I came up with a cozy Christmas collection. And it's 7 of our audiobooks that feature a holiday. So it's All Hallows from the Peyton Brooks Homicide early cases. It's Brief as Lightning from the Avery Nolan Adventures, features Thanksgiving. It's Cafe Macchiato. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the Zion Sawyer Cozy Mystery Series, which is hilarious. And then all 4 of the Everly Beckett, Isaac Stern, Christmas Mystery Series in existence that, of course, feature Christmas.
Yeah.
And so the only non-cozy is All Hallows, but it is Halloween, so come on. And so there's all of those, but again, so I tied it with the theme, right? And you were like, yeah, these are good books, let's do this. But then I found a place where you could personalize a Christmas ornament. And it's really cute. And we'll have the picture. I can't believe I didn't bring it. We'll have the picture for you at the end of this. But it's a stack of books, 9 books. And on the very top is a coffee cup and saucer. And engraved on the coffee cup and saucer, it says BoucherCon 2025. And then the 7 books, audiobooks that we're giving away, are listed on the spines of the first 7 books: All Hallows, Brief as Lightning, Cafe Macchiato, and then the 4, Trading Time, Chasing Courage, Seeking Solace, and then I can't think of the 4th one. But and then it says written by M.L. Hamilton on the 8th book, narrated by Kelly Hazen on the spine of the 9th book, and it is one of a kind. So hopefully that will be. And to my knowledge, they're not giving away any personalized, one of a kind, BoucherCon Christmas ornaments. So hopefully that will intrigue someone who's also loves audiobooks and also loves the holidays. Because I love to listen to or read something at each of the holidays that embodies the holiday that I'm embroiled in at that moment. And then the other thing that I put up for the silent auction is, it's called Nosh with the Narrator. And this was actually the first thing I thought of. I'm giving away an hour of my time, and they're doing 2 of them. So the 2 top bidders will each get one. An hour of my time in a Zoom, or if the winner is from LA, if the top bidder is from LA, we'll meet in person. And I'm going to buy them a cup of coffee and a scone and answer any questions they have about audiobooks, whether they're fans of audiobooks, whether they're authors that are trying to figure out how to do an audiobook, whether it's an author that wants to narrate their own audiobook, um, anything, whether it's somebody that wants to produce audiobooks. I'll talk to them and answer their questions for an hour-long session, and they'll receive, if it's live, I'll buy them a cup of coffee and a scone. If it's virtual, there's a $5 Starbucks gift card that'll go with it. And everybody gets a free complimentary audiobook from my catalog. So with you. And so we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's interesting because this is largely a book driven, writing driven conference. There is one panel on audiobooks, and but that's it in terms of audiobooks. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm very curious, and maybe for me in the future there's an opportunity to be on a panel. It never even crossed my mind. I guess I could have applied and obviously seen where I'd landed, but it was kind of late in the game when I decided to go. So anyway, so that's what we're doing, and it's I'm excited to be a part of it, just to contribute.
Yeah. I'm super excited. We're planning to do maybe some videos and some other promotional stuff. Obviously, we'll be posting on Facebook and Instagram and all of those, Blue Sky. And as while we're there, we'll be, whatever sites we see, we'll be kind of hitting the highlights for you guys. But no, I'm super excited, and I think it's a long time in coming. I mean, we've been at this for over 10 years now, and it's our first time that we get to go on location somewhere and actually promote it. And I think it's really exciting. It's a new step forward for us, that hopefully will lead to other adventures in the future that we can also share.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing you wanted to touch on was our preview of what's coming up. So why don't you talk about where are you seeing? We know we have Zion, that's for sure. We have another Christmas mystery coming up in December. And where are we with Samar?
Well, Samar has always sort of been, because it's already written. It's and we were really hot out of the gate in the beginning. We generated a whole bunch of them, and then there was a drop off between followers. Sanctuary, was it Sanctuary? No, it was Scions and followers, and we like to release. So we're actually ready to release a box set.
Yes.
The third box set of 4 for the Samar series. But you and I like to have available for listeners the next one
Right.
of the next box set, just so they're not like, I mean, that's terrible, right? That's like cold turkey, not giving anybody a place to go after, when they're ready. So depending upon the timing, and we can talk about this when we exit behind the mic, or we can talk about it now. Depending upon the timing of the next current book, Zion, the next Zion Sawyer mystery that you want to release, Apostles may be the next that we record, and I'll probably start recording as soon as we get back from New Orleans in mid-September, which means it'll probably be available mid-October. And then we'll release that box set probably 1st of December, around the time for Christmas. Just depending upon. So that's what I'm thinking. And then we're just 2 books away from having the whole World of Samar series. And I know I said I wanted to have it all recorded in 2025, but I think 2 new novels and a box set is good. Particularly since it's not like we've been dragging our feet. I mean, at the end of the year, we will have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 audiobooks this year. And that's
huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the most productive we've ever been.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember last year we thought we had been dragging our feet. And when we went back and looked, we had released 6 audiobooks in 2024. And, that's one every other month. And
That's pretty amazing.
yeah.
Pretty.
So, yeah. So
Uh,
I think we're doing great.
yes. All right. Well, so look for our posts coming up, and then we will probably do a behind the mic to kind of wrap up our experiences in New Orleans when we get back, and maybe put some of those videos in splice them in of what we see and what we do while we're in New Orleans, and
Behind the mic special edition.
behind the mic special edition, yeah, from Narlands. So,
Nola.
so anyway, this has been Behind the Mic number 25. Thank you, Kelly.
Ah.
And we will be back very soon with
Yep.
Thank you for joining us for Hamilton and Hazen Behind the Mic. Visit authormlhamilton.net and kellyhazennarrates.com to join our newsletters for more insider news and views. Today's episode is sponsored by Phoenix Publication Services, PPS, Digital Shepherds. Let us ignite your writing goals.